7 miles beneath the waves, in total darkness, a creature with jaws that unhinge like a snake swallows prey twice its own size. Down here, fish grow transparent skulls. Squids evolve rotating hooks instead of suckers. Single-celled organisms become larger than your fist. You are about to descend through zones where sunlight dies, where pressure crushes submarines, where biology rewrites its own rules. If you are enjoying this journey into the abyss, hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations of our planet's strangest places. Take a breath. We are going down. You are floating 600 feet below the ocean surface. Above you, sunlight still filters through the blue. Below you, something shifts. The light changes. Not gradually, suddenly. This is the mesopelagic zone. Scientists call it the Twilight zone, and the name fits perfectly. Sunlight penetrates water in wavelengths. Red disappears first. Within 30 feet, orange follows. Yellow fades around 100 feet down. By the time you reach 200 feet, even green starts dying. At 600 feet, only the faintest blue remains. Then nothing. The transition happens fast. One moment you can see the glow from above. The next, you are surrounded by a darkness deeper than any night on land. Your eyes try to adjust. They cannot. There is not enough light left for human vision to process. But you are not alone. Shapes move in the gloom, not shadows, because shadows need light. These are absences of darkness, bioluminescent flashes, blue-green sparks that appear and vanish like distant stars. This zone stretches from 600 feet to 3,000 feet deep. It holds more fish than all other ocean layers combined. Billions of creatures living in permanent dusk, they have adapted to conditions that would blind surface animals within hours. Their eyes have changed. Some species evolved eyes twice the size of their heads, trying to catch every photon. Others abandoned eyes entirely. What good is vision when there is nothing to see? The temperature here hovers just above freezing, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to slow your heartbeat, cold enough to make every movement a calculated risk. Energy is scarce. Food is scarce. Everything that sinks from above gets intercepted by the creatures living in the layers above you. So Twilight Zone predators developed patience. They drift. They wait. They evolved bodies that need almost no energy to survive. Some can go months without eating. Their metabolisms run so slow that time itself seems different down here. Hatchetfish hang motionless in the water column. Their bodies compress so thin they look like floating coins. From below, they are nearly invisible. From above, their silver scales reflect what little light remains, making them blend perfectly with the faint glow overhead. This is camouflage taken to its absolute limit. Lanternfish carry rows of bioluminescent organs along their bellies. They produce light that matches the intensity of sunlight filtering from above. To any predator looking up, they disappear against the background glow. Counter-illumination, scientists call it. The fish becomes its own sky. Every night, something extraordinary happens here. The largest migration on Earth begins. Billions of Twilight Zone creatures rise toward the surface under cover of darkness. They feed in the shallower waters where food is plentiful. Then, before dawn, they descend again, escaping the predators that hunt by daylight. This vertical migration moves more biomass than any other daily event on the planet. More than wildebeest crossing the Serengeti, more than birds migrating between continents. It happens every single night, in every ocean, and most humans have no idea it exists. The Twilight Zone is not just a transition, it is a warning. It tells you that the rules are changing, that the familiar world above is gone, that you are entering a realm where evolution took a different path, where creatures do not just adapt to their environment, they become their environment. And this is only the beginning. Below the Twilight Zone, there is no light at all, not even a memory of the sun. What survives down there stopped relying on the sky millions of years ago. The real darkness is still ahead. The hatchet fish looks like it was designed by someone who forgot what a fish should be. Its body is compressed so severely from side to side that it resembles a blade, a living razor floating in the water column. From the front, you can barely see it. The fish is maybe 3 inches long, but only half an inch wide. It looks like a sliver of metal suspended in the void. This shape is not random, it is survival. In the twilight zone, predators hunt from below. They look up, searching for silhouettes against the faint light filtering down from the surface. Any normal fish would appear as a dark shadow, an easy target. But the hatchet fish eliminated that problem entirely. Its belly is covered in photophores, tiny organs that produce light. These organs do not just glow randomly, they match the exact intensity and color of the light coming from above. The fish measures the ambient light, then adjusts its own bioluminescence to blend perfectly. To a predator staring up, the hatchet fish vanishes. It becomes part of the background. The light from its belly matches the light behind it. No shadow, no outline, nothing to attack. Scientists call this counter-illumination, and hatchet fish have perfected it. They can adjust their light output within seconds. If they rise toward brighter water, the photophores glow brighter. If they sink deeper, the light dims, always matching, always invisible. But the real genius is in the shape. That compressed body is not just thin, it is angled. The sides slope downward like the hull of a ship. When light hits those silver scales, it reflects straight down. Not to the sides, where a predator might see it. Down, into the void below. The result is a fish that disappears from every angle. Look at it from below, and the bioluminescent belly hides it against the faint glow above. Look at it from the side, and the mirror scales reflect only darkness. Look at it from above, and the dark back blends with the black water beneath. Hatchet fish also have enormous eyes, tubular eyes that point straight up. They cannot move these eyes. They are locked in position, aimed at the zone above them. This is where prey appears. Small crustaceans, larvae, anything descending from the surface layers. The fish hangs completely still, waiting, watching the ceiling of light above. When something crosses into view, the hatchet fish does not chase it. There is no thrashing pursuit. It simply rises, slowly, precisely. It positions itself directly beneath the prey, then strikes upward with its mouth. The attack is over in a fraction of a second. Then the fish returns to its position, motionless again, invisible again. This strategy requires almost no energy. The hatchet fish is not swimming constantly like a tuna. It is not patrolling like a shark. It is a living trap. A blade of silver hanging in the dark, waiting for food to drift within range. Some species of hatchet fish have taken the body compression even further. They are so thin that you can see through the edges of their bodies. Light passes through the translucent tissue. Even the organs inside are arranged to minimize any visible shadow. Evolution shaped these fish into geometry, into angles and reflections, into the minimum amount of matter needed to survive. But hatchet fish are not the top predators here. They are prey themselves, and the things that hunt them have evolved counters to every defense. Dragonfish patrol these same waters. They have vision adapted to see bioluminescence. They search for the tiny imperfections in the hatchet fish's camouflage, the slight mismatch in light, the faint shimmer when the fish adjusts position. And when a dragonfish finds a hatchet fish, no amount of invisibility can save it. The dragonfish looks like evolution gave up on subtlety. Its teeth are so long they cannot fit inside its mouth. They jut out at angles, creating a cage of transparent needles that stick out even when the jaws are closed. Some species have fangs that measure half the length of their entire body. Imagine a 6-foot human with 3-foot-long teeth. That is the proportion we are talking about. These are not weapons designed for clean kills. They are traps. The teeth are thin, almost invisible, made of clear tissue that does not reflect light. When a dragonfish opens its mouth, you see a black void surrounded by glass spikes. Prey does not realize the danger until those jaws snap shut, and they snap fast. Dragonfish strikes happen in 14 milliseconds, faster than a human eye can track. The fish does not chase its prey down. It positions itself, waits, then explodes forward in a blur of motion that ends with those needle teeth piercing through flesh. The teeth angle backward. Once something is impaled, it cannot escape. The more it struggles, the deeper it slides onto the spikes. The dragonfish does not need to bite repeatedly. It just holds on while its prey exhausts itself. But teeth are only part of the arsenal. Dragonfish have a bioluminescent lure hanging beneath their chin, a thin filament tipped with a glowing photophore. They dangle it like bait, mimicking the movement of small prey. Curious fish investigate. They swim closer. Then the jaws open. What makes dragonfish truly terrifying is their vision. Most deep-sea creatures produce blue or blue-green bioluminescence. That is the wavelength that travels farthest in water. Everyone down here can see blue light. But some dragonfish species evolved red bioluminescence. Red light does not travel far in ocean water. It gets absorbed quickly. Most deep-sea animals cannot even see red. Their eyes never evolved receptors for that wavelength. Why would they? Red disappeared from the spectrum hundreds of feet above, so dragonfish carry their own red searchlight. They have a photophore under each eye that produces red light. They shine this light on potential prey. To the dragonfish, the prey lights up like it is under a spotlight, but to the prey, nothing changes. It cannot see red. It has no idea it is being hunted. This is like having infrared night vision goggles in a world where everyone else is blind to infrared. The dragonfish sees everything. Nothing sees the dragonfish. They cruise through the darkness, scanning the water with their private wavelength of light, invisible beams cutting through the black. When they find a target, they approach from any angle. The prey never sees them coming. Dragonfish bodies are built long and serpentine. Some species stretch over a foot in length. Their skin is black, not grey, not dark brown, pure black. It absorbs 99% of light that hits it. Even if you shine a light directly on a dragonfish, it barely reflects anything back. These fish are shadows with teeth. They also have incredibly loose jaw hinges. The lower jaw can drop down at a 90-degree angle, creating a mouth opening larger than the fish's own body width. This lets them swallow prey almost as big as themselves. After a successful hunt, a dragonfish might not eat again for weeks. Its stomach expands to accommodate the meal. The fish becomes bloated, misshapen. It does not care. Food is too rare in the deep to be picky about portions. Some dragonfish species have photophores running along their sides, hundreds of tiny lights arranged in rows. Scientists are not completely sure what these are for. Maybe species recognition, maybe luring prey, maybe confusing predators. But the most disturbing theory is that they use them to communicate. Imagine creatures this alien having conversations, flashing patterns of light at each other in the void, messages we cannot decode, signals carrying information we cannot guess. Dragonfish are not the biggest predators in the Twilight Zone, not the fastest, not the strongest, but they might be the most efficient killers. Every part of their body serves the hunt: the teeth, the lure, the red light, the camouflaged skin, the expandable jaws. And these fish operate in a zone where humans can barely survive, where our submarines groan under the pressure, where our lights reveal only tiny circles of visibility in an ocean of black. Down here, the dragonfish is apex. But even apex predators have competition. Other hunters with strategies just as strange and just as deadly prowl these same waters. 90% of deep-sea creatures make their own light. This is not a rare adaptation. This is the default. If you live below the Twilight Zone, you almost certainly glow. The ocean's depths are the largest bioluminescent habitat on Earth. bigger than all the firefly forests and glowing bays combined. Most of the planet's light-producing organisms live underwater, in the dark, miles from the surface. They use light the way we use sound. Bioluminescence is not just illumination, it is communication, recognition, camouflage, defense, hunting, mating. Every critical survival behavior down here involves light in some way. The chemistry is relatively simple. A molecule called luciferin reacts with oxygen in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase. The reaction releases energy as light instead of heat. It is incredibly efficient, almost no wasted energy. Fireflies use the same basic chemistry. But deep-sea creatures have evolved thousands of variations, different colors, different intensities, different patterns, different purposes. Flashlight fish carry bioluminescent bacteria in pouches under their eyes. They can rotate these pouches to turn the light on and off. They use it to signal other flashlight fish, to coordinate movements, to stay together in schools, even in total darkness. Cookie-cutter sharks have glowing bellies that make them invisible from below, but they leave one small patch of dark tissue, just a tiny spot on their underside. From below, this looks like a small fish. Larger predators swim up to investigate. When they get close, the cookie-cutter shark spins around and bites a perfect circle of flesh from their side. It is camouflage weaponized as bait. Midshipman fish have rows of photophores along their bodies, hundreds of glowing dots arranged in patterns that look like the buttons on a naval uniform. Males use these lights in courtship displays. They flash in sequences. Females judge males based on the brightness and rhythm of their displays. Squid take bioluminescence to another level entirely. They have chromatophores in their skin, cells that can change color. Combined with photophores that produce light, this gives them unmatched control over their appearance. Some squid species can create traveling waves of light across their bodies, pulses that move from front to back or side to side. They use this to confuse predators. The predator strikes at where the light was, not where the squid is. Others create sudden flashes that blind attackers. The burst of light is so bright it overloads the predator's light-sensitive eyes. The squid escapes while the predator is temporarily blinded. Jellyfish use bioluminescence as an alarm system. When something disturbs them, they light up brilliantly. This does not scare off the immediate attacker. Instead, it attracts larger predators. The jellyfish is essentially screaming for help. The bigger predator shows up, attacks whatever was bothering the jellyfish, and the jellyfish escapes in the chaos. Scientists call this a bioluminescent burglar alarm. Certain species of shrimp vomit glowing clouds when threatened. They spray bioluminescent mucus directly into the face of whatever is attacking them. The predator suddenly has a glowing beacon attached to its head. Other predators notice. The original attacker becomes the target. The shrimp vanishes into the darkness. Even single-celled organisms down here produce light. Dinoflagellates glow when disturbed. In some parts of the ocean, anything that moves through the water creates a trail of sparkles. Dolphins leave glowing wakes. Fish leave glowing trails. It is like swimming through liquid starlight, but bioluminescence carries risks. Every time you produce light, you reveal your position. You become visible. So deep-sea creatures use light carefully, precisely. They flash for a fraction of a second, then go dark again. Just long enough to send the signal, not long enough to become a target. The ocean depths are filled with conversations we cannot hear. Flashes of blue-green light carrying messages between creatures we are just beginning to understand. Recognition signals between mates, warning flashes between rivals, lures dangling in front of predators. This is a language older than any human tongue, a language written in light and darkness, a language spoken by billions of organisms in the largest habitat on Earth, and we are only starting to learn how to read it. But some creatures down here use light in ways that go beyond communication, ways that seem almost cruel, ways that turn trust into a death sentence. The anglerfish might be the most recognizable deep-sea predator, that glowing lure dangling in front of razor teeth, that nightmare face that launched 1,000 horror designs. But the real story is stranger than the appearance. That lure is not just a light organ, it is a colony, a civilization of bacteria living inside a bulb of flesh at the end of a modified spine. The anglerfish does not produce the light itself, the bacteria do. These are not random bacteria, they are a specific species, Photobacterium or Vibrio, depending on the anglerfish species. The fish provides them with a perfect home, a protected chamber with blood flow delivering oxygen and nutrients. In return, the bacteria glow constantly. The fish controls the light by restricting blood flow. Less oxygen means dimmer light. More oxygen means brighter light. It is like having a dimmer switch connected to a living lamp, but here is where it gets interesting. Baby anglerfish do not have this bacteria. They are born without it. Somewhere during their development, they collect it from the ocean water. The bacteria colonizes the lure. The relationship begins. How do they find the right bacteria in an ocean of microbes? Scientists are still figuring that out. The fish might release chemicals that attract the specific species it needs, or the bacteria might be attracted to the developing lure tissue. Either way, it is a partnership that has existed for millions of years. The anglerfish uses the lure exactly how you would expect. It dangles it in the water, wiggles it like a tiny struggling fish. Prey sees movement and light, two signals that mean food in the deep ocean. They approach. The anglerfish stays completely still. Its body is dark, covered in mottled skin that blends with the black water. Only the lure is visible, a single point of light floating in the void. When prey gets close enough, the anglerfish does not make a slow strike. It creates a vacuum. The mouth opens so fast it generates negative pressure. Water rushes in. Prey gets sucked inside before it can react. The jaws snap shut. Teeth angle inward. Nothing escapes. Some anglerfish species can swallow fish twice their own size. Their stomach expands. Their skin stretches. They become grotesque balloons of digesting flesh. It does not matter. A meal this big might sustain them for months, but the lure has another purpose. Female anglerfish also use it to attract mates. In the vast darkness, finding another member of your species is nearly impossible. The ocean is three-dimensional, endless. You could drift for years without encountering another anglerfish, so the female becomes a beacon. The lure advertises her presence. Males sense the light from far away. They follow it through the darkness. When they arrive, something disturbing happens. We will get to that in a moment. First, understand that anglerfish live in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Food is scarce. Energy is precious. Wasting time searching for a mate could mean starvation. Evolution solved this problem in the most extreme way possible. Different anglerfish species have different lure shapes. Some look like feathers, some look like bulbs, some have multiple branches. Each design mimics different types of prey. The fish evolves to match whatever food source is most common in its territory. The lure also has parasites, tiny organisms that live inside the bacteria colony. Parasites inside symbionts, inside a fish. 3 levels of life stacked on top of each other, each using the others to survive. Scientists have found anglerfish with damaged lures. The bacterial colony dies, the light goes out. These fish still survive. They hunt without the lure. They rely on other senses, vibration, smell, touch. But their hunting success drops dramatically. The lure is not optional, it is essential. Female anglerfish grow much larger than males. Some species show the most extreme sexual dimorphism in the animal kingdom. Females can be 60 times heavier than males. It is like comparing a human to a mouse. This size difference exists for a reason. Females need the energy reserves to produce eggs. They need the stomach capacity to eat large prey. They need to survive long periods without food. Males do not need any of that. Males need to find females. That is their entire evolutionary purpose. And evolution found a solution so bizarre it seems impossible. When a male anglerfish finds a female, he does not just mate with her, he fuses with her permanently. The male anglerfish is maybe an inch long. The female is 10 inches or more. When he finds her in the darkness, he has one job: bite her. He clamps his jaws onto her body, usually on her belly, sometimes on her side. The position does not matter. What happens next happens regardless. His mouth fuses with her skin. The tissue merges. His lips bond to her flesh. His bloodstream connects to hers. Over the following weeks, most of his body dissolves. His eyes disappear. His internal organs break down. His fins shrink away. What remains is barely recognizable as a fish. He becomes a small growth on her body, a lump, a parasitic appendage that exists only to produce sperm. She feeds him through her bloodstream. He has no mouth anymore, no digestive system. He takes nutrients directly from her blood. In return, he provides sperm whenever she releases eggs. Some female anglerfish carry multiple males, 6 or 7 small growths attached to her body. Each one was once an independent fish. Each one found her light in the darkness and made the ultimate sacrifice. This is called sexual parasitism, and anglerfish take it further than any other animal on Earth. The male gives up everything: independence, mobility, sensory organs, his entire identity as an individual organism. He becomes a reproductive organ attached to a larger creature. Why would evolution favor this? Because the deep ocean is impossibly vast. The chance of finding a mate is incredibly low. If a male finds a female, he cannot afford to let that opportunity pass. He cannot afford to mate and then drift away. He might never find another female in his entire life, so he stays forever. For the female, this is equally beneficial. She does not need to waste energy searching for males. She does not need to coordinate reproductive timing. The males are already attached, ready whenever she produces eggs. It is a guaranteed reproductive strategy in an environment where nothing is guaranteed. Scientists discovered this phenomenon by accident. Early researchers found female anglerfish with strange growths on their bodies. They assumed these were parasites, some kind of worm or crustacean. They catalogued them as separate species. It took decades to realize the truth. Those growths were males, degenerated, fused, transformed into living sperm factories. Not all anglerfish species do this. Some have more traditional mating. Males and females meet, spawn, and separate. But the species that live in the deepest, most isolated parts of the ocean have evolved this extreme strategy. The males have enormous eyes relative to their body size, massive olfactory organs. They are optimized for one task: find the female. Their sense of smell can detect the chemical signature she releases into the water. They follow the scent trail through miles of darkness. When they finally arrive, they have no time to waste. They bite immediately. If they wait, they might drift away. The current might separate them. They might never get another chance. The fusion process involves the immune system shutting down. Normally, when foreign tissue touches your body, your immune system attacks it. Your body recognizes it as not self and destroys it. But male anglerfish have evolved a way to suppress this response. Their tissue signals to the female's immune system that it is safe. The fusion begins. The two organisms become one. This requires genetic compatibility at a level seen nowhere else in nature. The male's tissue has to be accepted by the female's body completely. Any rejection would kill him. Scientists study this phenomenon because it has implications for human medicine. Understanding how anglerfish suppress immune rejection could help with organ transplants, could help with autoimmune diseases, could revolutionize how we think about tissue compatibility. But from the male anglerfish's perspective, there is no choice. This is not a decision. This is genetic programming running its course. He was born to find a female, to bite, to fuse. not to disappear into her. Some females have been found with males attached in strange places, on the head, near the tail. These males bit wherever they could reach, desperate, running out of time, their bodies already dissolving even as they fuse. It is one of the most alien reproductive strategies on Earth, and it happens in total darkness, miles below the surface, in a world most humans will never see. But anglerfish are not the largest predators down here, not even close. Something else hunts in these depths, something with eyes bigger than your head. The giant squid has eyes the size of dinner plates, almost 11 inches across, the largest eyes of any animal on Earth, larger than the eye of a blue whale, larger than the eye of any dinosaur we have ever found. Why would any creature need eyes that big? In the deep ocean, bigger eyes should not help. There is no light to collect. Bigger lenses do not improve vision when there is nothing to see. Evolution does not waste resources on useless features, so the giant squid's eyes must serve a purpose. Scientists ran the calculations. They modeled how light behaves in deep water. They analyzed what kind of visual information would be useful at the depths where giant squid live. They found something surprising. The eyes are not designed to see prey. Squid catch prey using their tentacles, using chemical sensors, using touch. They do not need massive eyes to hunt fish or crustaceans. The eyes are designed to see one thing: sperm whales. Sperm whales are the only predators that regularly hunt giant squid. They dive to depths exceeding 6,000 feet. They hunt in total darkness. They use echolocation to find their prey, but echolocation creates bioluminescence. When a sperm whale's sonar clicks hit bioluminescent plankton, those plankton light up. The whale becomes surrounded by a faint glow, a constellation of tiny organisms flashing in response to the sound waves. To most deep-sea creatures, this glow is invisible. Their eyes are not sensitive enough. The light is too faint, too diffuse. But giant squid eyes can see it. Those dinner plate-sized eyes collect enough light to detect the whale from over 400 feet away. That is enough distance to escape, enough time to jet away into the darkness before the whale gets close. The giant squid's eyes are essentially sperm whale detectors. Early warning systems evolved specifically to counter one predator. This makes sense when you consider the stakes. Adult giant squid can reach 40 feet long. They weigh hundreds of pounds. They are apex predators themselves. But sperm whales are bigger, stronger, faster. A sperm whale can dive for over an hour. It can descend to depths that would kill most other mammals. It has teeth designed to grip slippery squid flesh. Its stomach contains squid beaks by the hundreds, sometimes thousands. Sperm whales eat giant squid constantly. It is their primary food source. An adult sperm whale needs to eat about 3% of its body weight daily. For a 40-ton whale, that is 2,400 pounds of food, mostly squid. So giant squid evolved the one defense that might work. Vision sensitive enough to see the whale coming. Eyes large enough to detect the faintest bioluminescent glow. The eyes are not just large, they are sophisticated. They have specialized light-gathering structures. The pupil can expand to cover almost the entire eye. The lens is massive and perfectly clear. The retina contains layers of photoreceptor cells densely packed together. Each eye can process movement across a wide field of view. The squid can track the whale's position even as it tries to maneuver, even as it attempts to escape. But seeing the whale is only step one. The squid also needs to move fast. Giant squid have a siphon, a tube that they force water through using muscular contractions. This creates jet propulsion. The squid rockets backward or forward depending on which way the siphon points. They can accelerate faster than almost any other ocean animal. In short bursts, they move like torpedoes. They vanish into the darkness within seconds. But this uses enormous energy. The squid cannot maintain that speed for long. If the whale is persistent, if it keeps tracking, if it corners the squid in a canyon or against the seafloor, the squid loses. Sperm whale stomachs often contain squid with tentacles missing. With chunks torn out of the mantle, these squid fought back. Giant squid tentacles have suckers lined with serrated rings, like teeth around the edge of each sucker. They leave circular scars on whale skin. Some old male sperm whales are covered in these scars. Hundreds of circular marks across their head and body, evidence of countless battles in the deep. We have never seen a fight between a giant squid and a sperm whale. It happens too deep, too dark, in places where cameras cannot reach, but we know it happens. The evidence is written on the bodies of both animals. The squid's eyes give it a chance, not a guarantee, a chance. In the deep ocean, that might be the best evolution can offer. A warning system, a few extra seconds to react, a possibility of escape. Giant squid are not the only squid with impressive eyes. Other deep-sea squid species have evolved different solutions. Some have eyes that point in different directions. One eye aimed up, watching for predators from above. One eye aimed down, watching for prey below. But none match the size of the giant squid's eyes. None needed to. None face a predator as relentless as the sperm whale. And speaking of sperm whales, they deserve their own chapter, because what they do in the deep is just as extraordinary as the squid they hunt. A sperm whale takes a breath at the surface. Its lungs fill with air, then it points its head straight down and descends into darkness. It falls through the twilight zone, through the midnight zone, down past depths where sunlight is a memory, past depths where pressure would crush a human instantly. 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet, 8,000 feet. The whale keeps diving. Its lungs collapse under the pressure. This is not injury. This is adaptation. The lungs compress completely. Air moves into the rigid windpipe and nasal passages, where nitrogen cannot dissolve into the bloodstream. This prevents the bends, prevents nitrogen bubbles from forming in the blood. Most of the oxygen the whale needs is not stored in its lungs. It is stored in muscle tissue. In a protein called myoglobin, sperm whales have muscle tissue so dark it looks black. That color comes from myoglobin concentration. Their muscles hold more oxygen than any other mammal. The whale's heart rate drops from 30 beats per minute to 10, sometimes lower. Blood flow redirects to only the most critical organs, the brain, the heart. Everything else goes into energy conservation mode. It can stay down for over 90 minutes. During that time, it hunts, in total darkness, using echolocation so sophisticated it can map the ocean floor in detail. It sends out clicks, powerful bursts of sound produced in the spermaceti organ inside its massive head. These clicks are the loudest sounds produced by any animal, over 200 decibels, loud enough to vibrate your bones if you were close enough, loud enough to potentially stun or disorient prey. The clicks bounce off objects and return to the whale. It processes the echoes, builds a complete acoustic picture of its surroundings. It can detect a fish the size of your hand from hundreds of feet away, in pitch blackness. When it locates a giant squid, the hunt begins. The squid tries to escape. It jets away at maximum speed, but the whale is faster. It closes the distance, opens its narrow lower jaw lined with conical teeth. Those teeth do not chew, they grip. The whale bites down on the squid. Sometimes it catches the squid whole. Sometimes it tears off chunks. The squid fights back. Tentacles wrap around the whale's head. Suckers with serrated edges dig into skin. But the whale is too big, too strong. It shakes its head, rips the squid apart, swallows pieces whole. Then it continues hunting. One squid is not enough. An adult sperm whale might eat 40 squid in a single dive, or dozens of large fish. It hunts methodically, efficiently, clearing an area of prey before ascending. When it finally returns to the surface, it breathes rapidly, 30 to 50 breaths, refilling its oxygen stores, resting, preparing for the next dive, and then it goes down again. A sperm whale might make 3 to 5 dives per day, each one lasting over an hour. each one reaching depths where the pressure exceeds 3,000 pounds per square inch. Their bones are porous, filled with oil instead of marrow. This gives them buoyancy control, lets them descend without constantly fighting to stay down, lets them ascend without racing toward the surface. The spermaceti organ in their head is filled with a waxy oil. Scientists think this organ helps with buoyancy. The whale can adjust the temperature of the oil by directing blood flow. Warmer oil is less dense. Cooler oil is more dense. This changes the whale's overall buoyancy. It is like having a built-in ballast tank. The whale can fine-tune its depth without wasting energy swimming up or down. Baby sperm whales cannot dive like adults. They stay near the surface with their mothers, nursing, growing, building up the muscle mass they will need for deep diving. Adult females typically dive to around 3,000 feet. Adult males go deeper, much deeper. Some have been tracked to depths exceeding 10,000 feet, almost 2 miles straight down. At those depths, pressure is crushing. Water is near freezing. There is no light, no sound, except the whale's own echolocation. It is as alien as outer space. But sperm whales have been doing this for millions of years. Their ancestors evolved from land mammals, walked on legs, breathed air continuously. Over time, they returned to the ocean, adapted, specialized. Now they are the dominant predators of the deep. Nothing else can compete in their niche. Nothing else can dive that deep, that long, that often. Humans have sent submersibles to these depths. Thick metal spheres with tiny windows. The subs groan under the pressure. The hulls compress. Every descent is a calculated risk. Sperm whales do it with nothing but flesh and bone, and they do it in complete darkness, hunting creatures that most humans will never see. But even sperm whales have limits. Below a certain depth, even they cannot survive. And that is where the ocean truly becomes strange. Below 3,000 feet, you enter the bathypelagic zone. Scientists call it the midnight zone. The name is perfect. There is no dawn here, no dusk, no variation in light levels, just eternal night. The pressure at this depth exceeds 4,000 pounds per square inch. A human body would be crushed instantly. Your lungs would collapse. Your organs would rupture. Water would force its way into every air pocket in your body. But creatures down here do not have air pockets. Their bodies are mostly water, proteins, fats, materials that do not compress. The pressure pushes equally from all directions. Inside equals outside. Equilibrium. They do not feel the weight of the ocean. They never have. They evolved at these depths. This is normal to them. The temperature is just above freezing, 39 degrees Fahrenheit. It has been this temperature for millions of years. No seasonal variation, no change. Stability. Food is scarce, extremely scarce. Most of what sinks from above gets eaten by creatures in the layers above this one. Only about 5% of surface production makes it to the midnight zone. So organisms here have adapted to starvation. Their metabolisms run incredibly slow. Their bodies need almost no energy to function. They can survive months without eating. Some species can survive over a year between meals. This changes everything about how they live. Movement becomes expensive. Every swim costs energy that might not be replaceable. So many midnight zone fish barely move at all. They drift. They wait. They have evolved bodies that require minimal muscle activity to stay alive. Some have watery flesh. Their muscles are gelatinous. They have low protein content. They float neutrally in the water column without effort. No swimming needed to maintain depth. Their bones are reduced. Cartilage replaces calcium. Their skeletons are soft, flexible. This saves energy. Building and maintaining bone requires resources that do not exist down here. Reproduction becomes a problem. Finding a mate in three-dimensional darkness across an area larger than any continent is nearly impossible. Some species solve this with bioluminescent displays. Others use chemical signals, pheromones released into the water. But these signals disperse quickly, get diluted by currents. A female might release eggs into the water and hope that a male somewhere nearby detects them in time. It is reproduction based on luck, on probability. Most eggs never get fertilized. Most that do get fertilized never survive to adulthood. The Midnight Zone is a war of attrition. Survival is about outlasting the competition, about being the organism that can go longest without food. That needs the least energy. That makes the fewest mistakes. There are no plants here, no photosynthesis. The entire food web depends on what falls from above: dead fish, dead whales, fecal matter, marine snow, organic particles drifting down through the water column. Some Midnight Zone creatures are scavengers. They wait for corpses to sink past them. They feed on decay. They evolved specialized senses to detect the chemical signature of rotting flesh from far away. Others are predators, but they are ambush predators. They do not chase. They cannot afford to. Chasing wastes energy. They set traps, lures. They wait for prey to come to them. Gulper eels have mouths that comprise most of their body length. Their jaws open to angles that should not be possible. They swim slowly through the water with their massive mouth open. Anything that touches the inside gets swallowed. They are living nets, drifting through darkness, hoping something swims into them. Other fish have evolved expandable stomachs. They can eat prey larger than their own body size. Their skin stretches, their ribs spread apart. They become grotesque balloons of digesting flesh. It does not matter what they look like. There is no light. No one can see them. Appearance means nothing in the Midnight Zone. Only function matters. Bioluminescence is still common. About 75% of Midnight Zone creatures produce light, but they use it differently than Twilight Zone animals. There is no sunlight to camouflage against, no background glow, so they use light for signaling, for luring, for sudden defensive flashes, for species recognition, for confusing predators. Some have evolved bioluminescence that mimics other creatures. A fish might flash in a pattern that looks like a small squid. Predators approach, expecting an easy meal. They get ambushed instead. The Midnight Zone stretches from 3,000 feet to 13,000 feet deep. It is the largest habitat on Earth by volume. It contains more water than all other ocean zones combined, and we have explored almost none of it. Most of what we know comes from nets, from remote cameras, from brief submarine visits. There could be creatures down there we have never seen, never suspected, species that outnumber everything we have already discovered. The Midnight Zone is not the bottom, not even close. Below this is another zone, even deeper, even stranger. The gulper eel looks like someone stretched a normal eel to its breaking point, then attached a pelican's mouth to the front. Its jaw is massive, hinged so loosely it can open to 90 degrees. The mouth cavity is larger than the entire rest of the body. When fully opened, it looks like a black parachute made of flesh. This is not a design for quick strikes. This is a design for inevitability. The gulper eel drifts through the Midnight Zone with its mouth wide open. It moves slowly, almost imperceptibly. Water flows past. Small fish, crustaceans, anything organic. If something touches the inside of that mouth, it is over. The jaws close. Not fast, but completely. The prey gets funneled down into the eel's throat. The stomach expands to accommodate whatever just got swallowed. Gulper eels have been found with fish half their own length inside their stomachs. The eel becomes distorted, lumpy, the outline of the prey visible through its translucent skin. They can survive for months on a single meal. Their metabolism is so slow that digestion takes weeks. The stomach breaks down tissue gradually, extracting every possible calorie. The eel's body is mostly tail, long, whip-like, covered in photophores that produce faint bioluminescence. Scientists are not sure what these lights are for. Maybe attracting prey, maybe attracting mates, maybe both. The tip of the tail has a glowing organ. This might work as a lure. The eel could position itself with the tail forward, dangling the light like bait. Prey investigates, gets too close to the mouth, gets swallowed. But we have never seen this happen. Gulper eels live too deep for easy observation. Everything we know comes from specimens caught in nets or brief footage from submersibles. What we do know is that their jaw structure is unique. Most fish have jaws connected to their skull with rigid bones. The jaw can only open so far before hitting a physical limit. Gulper eel jaws have almost no connection to the skull. They are held in place mostly by elastic tissue. The entire mouth assembly can flex and expand like a balloon. When they catch something large, they do not try to bite through it. They do not tear it apart. They simply engulf it. The jaws stretch around the prey. The throat expands. Muscles push the prey down through the body like swallowing a tennis ball through a garden hose. This takes time, sometimes hours. The eel cannot hunt while digesting, cannot move normally. It just drifts, waiting for the meal to settle. Their eyes are small, almost useless. There is no light in the midnight zone. Vision would not help. So evolution reduced the eyes to save energy. Instead, gulper eels rely on lateral lines, sensors running along their body that detect water movement. They can sense the vibrations of swimming prey from far away. They orient toward the disturbance, drift closer. When prey gets within range, the mouth is already open, ready. Some gulper eel species grow up to 6 feet long. Most of that length is tail. The actual head and mouth section might be 2 feet, the stomach another foot. The rest is tail for swimming and maneuvering. They are not fast swimmers. They do not need to be. Their hunting strategy is passive. They position themselves in areas where prey is likely to pass, then wait. Ocean currents do most of the work, water flowing through canyons, around seamounts, through channels. Prey gets funneled into specific paths. The eel waits in those paths with its mouth open. It is like fishing with a net that never moves. Eventually, something swims in. Reproduction is another mystery. We have never observed gulper eels mating. We assume they spawn like other deep-sea eels, release eggs and sperm into the water, let fertilization happen by chance. The larvae probably drift in upper ocean layers, feeding on plankton, growing. Then they descend as they mature, finding their place in the midnight zone. But we do not know for sure. There are huge gaps in our understanding. Gulper eels appear in our nets. We take measurements, record data, try to piece together their life cycle from fragments. What we are certain of is that their jaw adaptation is extreme. It represents a radical departure from normal fish morphology. Evolution, experimenting with what is possible when energy is scarce and prey is rare. The gulper eel traded everything else for one massive advantage: the ability to eat almost anything it encounters, the ability to swallow meals that would be impossible for a normal predator. In an environment where food arrives randomly and infrequently, this strategy works. The eel does not need to be picky, does not need to chase the perfect prey. Anything that fits in its mouth becomes food. And since its mouth can fit almost anything, very little escapes. But there are creatures down here with even stranger adaptations. Fish with see-through heads, fish with skulls you can look through like windows. The Barreleye fish has a skull made of transparent tissue. You can see straight through its forehead into its head cavity. Inside, 2 tubular eyes point straight up. This is not an injury, not a developmental flaw. This is deliberate design. The eyes are fixed in place. They cannot move. They point directly upward through the clear dome of the skull. The fish stares at the zone above it constantly, watching for the silhouettes of prey against the faint light filtering down. The clear dome is not skin. It is a specialized membrane, tough enough to maintain structure but transparent enough to let light through. Inside the dome is fluid. This fluid protects the eyes, gives them a stable environment even as the fish moves. The eyes themselves are cylindrical, not round like most fish eyes. They are shaped like tubes or barrels. This shape maximizes light collection, The retina at the back of each tube catches every photon that enters. Barreleye fish live in the Twilight zone. Around 2,000 feet deep, there is still a tiny amount of light at this depth, not enough for humans to see by, but enough for a fish with specialized eyes. They hunt jellyfish and small organisms that drift through the water column. When something passes overhead, the Barreleye sees it perfectly. The tubular eyes provide exceptional detail in the upward direction. But this creates a problem. The fish can only see above. It cannot see forward, cannot see behind, cannot see below. So how does it navigate? How does it avoid predators approaching from other directions? Scientists discovered something remarkable. The eyes can rotate, not the whole eye, but the tube can swivel inside the transparent dome. The fish can point its vision forward when it needs to, then rotate the eyes back to the upward position when hunting. The clear head makes this possible. If the skull were opaque, rotating the eyes would not help, but with the transparent dome, the fish can see in any direction its eyes point while keeping the protective covering intact. The Barreleye also has what look like eyes on the front of its face, 2 dark circles that resemble normal fish eyes. But these are not eyes, these are olfactory organs, smell receptors. The real eyes are inside the head, under the dome, aimed upward. This confused scientists for decades. Early specimens were caught in nets, brought to the surface. The pressure change damaged the delicate transparent dome. It collapsed, became opaque. Researchers thought the fish had normal eyes on its face and some kind of strange growth on its head. It was not until researchers captured live specimens and observed them in pressurized tanks that they understood. The dome is supposed to be clear. The eyes are supposed to point up. The dome is filled with a fluid that has the same refractive index as water. This means light passes through without bending. No distortion. The fish sees clearly, despite looking through a layer of tissue and fluid. This is similar to how your cornea works. Your cornea is transparent. Light passes through it to reach your lens and retina. But the Barreleye has taken this concept and applied it to its entire skull. The fish itself is small, maybe 6 inches long, dark body. The transparent head is just the front section. The rest is normal fish anatomy, fins, tail, internal organs. They drift almost motionless, hovering in the water column, the eyes scanning above, waiting for prey to cross their field of view. When they spot something, they tilt upward, swim slowly toward the target. The eyes rotate forward as they get close. Now they can see where they are going. They approach, open their mouth, engulf the prey. Then they return to the hovering position, eyes rotating back to the upward watch. Barreleye fish are not common. They live in a specific depth range, in areas where the last traces of sunlight create enough contrast to make their specialized vision useful. Go deeper, and there is no light to see by. The tubular eyes become less effective. Go shallower, and there is too much light. The fish would be visible to predators. The transparent head would not provide any advantage. They exist in a narrow band, a specific ecological niche where their bizarre adaptation gives them an edge. Other deep-sea fish have evolved different solutions to the same problem. Some have telescopic eyes that point forward. Some have eyes on stalks. Some abandoned eyes entirely. But the Barreleye is unique. No other fish has a completely transparent skull dome protecting tubular eyes that can rotate inside the head. It is evolution solving a problem with a solution that seems impossible. A fish with a window in its skull, eyes that move independently of the skull's orientation, vision optimized for one direction but capable of flexibility. And this is just one species, one adaptation among thousands in the deep ocean. Every creature down here has evolved something strange, something unexpected. The deeper you go, the stranger it gets. The vampire squid is not a squid. It is not a vampire. It is something older than both, a living fossil, a relic from before squid and octopuses split into separate groups. Its arms are connected by webbing. When it pulls its arms over its head, it becomes a pulsing ball of flesh. The webbing forms a cloak, dark red or black. Spines line the inside of this cloak. Each spine has a bioluminescent tip. When threatened, the vampire squid turns itself inside out. The cloak inverts. Now the spines point outward. They glow blue-green. The entire creature becomes a spiky ball of light. To a predator, this is confusing. The sudden transformation, the burst of bioluminescence. The predator hesitates. That hesitation is enough. The vampire squid jets away into darkness. It can pulse its webbed arms like a jellyfish. It can also use jet propulsion like a normal squid. It has multiple escape strategies depending on the threat, but its most disturbing defense is the mucus. When grabbed, the vampire squid releases a cloud of bioluminescent mucus. Not ink, mucus. Sticky, glowing. It clings to whatever touched it. The predator now has glowing slime all over its face. Other predators notice. They investigate. The vampire squid escapes while the predator tries to clean itself. This mucus can remain luminescent for up to 10 minutes, long enough to completely ruin the predator's stealth, long enough to attract bigger threats. The vampire squid lives in the oxygen minimum zone. This is a layer of ocean where oxygen levels drop to almost nothing, around 2,000 to 3,000 feet deep. Most animals cannot survive here. Their metabolism needs oxygen, but the vampire squid evolved to tolerate low oxygen. Its blood contains hemocyanin, a copper-based molecule that binds oxygen more efficiently than hemoglobin. The blood is blue when oxygenated, colorless when depleted. The squid moves slowly, conserving energy. It does not chase prey. It feeds on marine snow, dead organic matter sinking through the water column. It uses specialized filaments to collect particles. Then it transfers the particles to its mouth. This is passive feeding. The squid does not hunt, it harvests. It drifts through the oxygen-starved water, collecting debris that other animals cannot reach because they cannot survive in this zone. The vampire squid is small, maybe 1 foot long, including arms. Its body is soft, gelatinous. It has large eyes relative to body size, the largest eye-to-body ratio of any animal on Earth. These eyes are extremely sensitive to light. They can detect the faintest bioluminescence. This helps the squid avoid predators. Most predators cannot survive in the oxygen minimum zone, but some can make brief forays into it. The squid needs to see them coming. The spines on its arms are called cirri. They are not tentacles. They are modified arm tips, each one lined with photophores. When the squid pulls its cloak over its body, these cirri stick out like glowing spikes. The effect is alien, terrifying if you do not know what you are looking at. Early researchers who saw preserved specimens thought they had discovered a deep-sea monster. The name vampire squid stuck. But the vampire squid is harmless to humans. It is a scavenger. It eats particles. It avoids conflict whenever possible. Its reproductive strategy is unusual. Females can reproduce multiple times. Most deep-sea squids spawn once and die. But vampire squid can spawn, recover, and spawn again years later. This makes sense in an environment with low food. Producing eggs takes energy. If food is scarce, the female might not have enough energy to reproduce again. But if she does, she can. The capability is there. Males transfer sperm packets to females. These packets can remain viable for months. The female controls when fertilization happens. She waits until conditions are favorable, until she has enough energy reserves to support egg development. The eggs are large, among the largest eggs relative to body size of any squid. Each egg is well provisioned with yolk. The embryo has enough nutrients to develop completely before hatching. Young vampire squid look different from adults. They have different proportions, different spine arrangements. Researchers initially classified juveniles as separate species. It took years to realize they were the same animal at different life stages. The vampire squid can live for several years, maybe longer. We do not know its maximum lifespan. Deep-sea animals are hard to age. Their growth rings are not clear. Their life cycles are not well understood. What we know is that this creature has survived for millions of years. It existed before modern squid, before modern octopuses. It represents an ancient branch of cephalopod evolution, and it thrives in an environment where most other animals die. The oxygen minimum zone is expanding. Climate change is reducing oxygen levels in deep ocean water. The zone is growing. For vampire squid, this might be an advantage, more habitat, less competition. But for the larger ocean ecosystem, it is a warning, a sign that something is changing in the deep, and changes in the deep always come slowly, but they last for centuries. A Greenland shark swims through Arctic waters, slowly, almost imperceptibly. Its body is thick, muscular, built for endurance. Scientists caught one, measured it, estimated its age using radiocarbon dating of the eye lens. The result was shocking. The shark was at least 270 years old, maybe older, maybe 400 years. This individual was born before the United States existed. It was swimming through these same waters when Mozart was composing music, when the French Revolution happened, when the Industrial Revolution began. And it is not unique. Greenland sharks commonly live over 200 years. Some researchers think they might live 500 years or more. They might be the longest-lived vertebrates on Earth. Other deep-sea creatures show similar longevity. Orange ruffy fish can live over 150 years. Deep-sea corals can live thousands of years. Sponges in the deep have been dated to over 10,000 years old. Why does this happen? Why do deep-sea organisms live so long? The answer is metabolism. Cold water slows everything down. Chemical reactions proceed slowly. Cells divide slowly. Damage accumulates slowly. Aging happens slowly. A Greenland shark does not reach sexual maturity until it is over 100 years old. Its growth rate is less than half an inch per year. It takes more than a century to grow large enough to reproduce. This is life in slow motion, stretched across timescales that make human lifespans seem like heartbeats. The cold also reduces oxidative stress. In warm-blooded animals, high metabolism generates free radicals. These damage cells cause aging, lead to cancer and degenerative diseases. Cold-blooded animals in freezing water have minimal free radical production. Their cells experience less damage. They age more slowly. But longevity also requires stability, an environment that does not change. The deep ocean provides this. Temperature has been stable for millions of years. Pressure has been stable. The darkness has been stable. Evolution can optimize for long life when the environment is predictable. There is no need for rapid adaptation, no need for short generation times. Slow and steady wins. Deep-sea organisms also have different cellular repair mechanisms. Their DNA repair enzymes work more efficiently. They have redundant systems for fixing damage. They can maintain genetic integrity longer than surface animals. Some species show negligible senescence. They do not show typical signs of aging. Their mortality rate does not increase with age. A 200-year-old Greenland shark is just as healthy as a 100-year-old. This challenges our understanding of aging. We assume aging is inevitable, that all organisms degrade over time. But deep-sea creatures prove this is not universal. Aging is not a biological requirement. It is an adaptation to specific environments. In environments where reproduction needs to happen fast, short lifespans make sense. Produce offspring quickly, die, make room for the next generation. But in the deep ocean, reproduction is difficult. Finding mates is rare. Energy for producing eggs is scarce. It makes more sense to live longer, to have multiple opportunities to reproduce across centuries. A female Greenland shark might reproduce 5 or 6 times in her life, each time separated by decades, each time requiring enough energy and the lucky encounter with a male. Her lifetime reproductive output might be the same as a fish that lives 5 years and reproduces every year. but her strategy is spread across centuries instead of years. Deep sea corals show even more extreme longevity. They grow millimeters per year. Some colonies are older than human civilizations. They have lived through ice ages, through climate shifts, through the rise and fall of entire ecosystems. Their growth rings record ocean conditions across millennia. Scientists study these corals like tree rings, reading history written in calcium carbonate. But long life has disadvantages. Recovery from damage is slow. A Greenland shark injured by a seal or orca might take years to heal. A broken coral might take decades to regrow. And if the environment changes rapidly, long-lived species cannot adapt fast enough. They evolved for stability, for slow change. Rapid environmental shifts could wipe them out before they can evolve new defenses. Climate change is happening faster than these organisms can adjust. Ocean temperatures are rising. Acidification is increasing. Oxygen levels are dropping. For animals that measure their lives in centuries, a few decades of change is catastrophic. They cannot evolve fast enough, cannot move fast enough, cannot adapt fast enough. The Greenland sharks swimming today might be the last generation. The corals growing now might not survive to see the year 2100. Longevity requires stability, and stability is ending. But for now, these ancient creatures still exist, still swim through the same waters their ancestors swam through centuries ago, still grow slowly, still reproduce rarely, still defy the normal rules of aging. They are living proof that biology is more flexible than we thought, that the limits we assume are not universal, that life can take forms we are only beginning to understand, and the pressure they survive under is itself almost incomprehensible. At 2 miles deep, pressure reaches 4,000 pounds per square inch. That is more than 170 times the pressure at sea level. It is the weight of a small car pressing on every square inch of your body. If you were suddenly transported to this depth, you would die before you could process what was happening. The air in your lungs would compress to almost nothing. Your sinuses would collapse. Your eardrums would rupture instantly. But that is just the beginning. Water would force its way into every air space in your body. It would flood your ears, your sinuses, your lungs, your digestive tract. Anywhere air exists would fill with water. Your organs would not implode like in movies. They are mostly water and tissue. They are already incompressible. But the differential pressure between any remaining air pockets and the surrounding tissue would cause catastrophic damage. Blood vessels would rupture. Internal bleeding would begin immediately. Your body would swell as fluids shifted under the pressure. You would lose consciousness within seconds. Death would follow quickly. This is not a survivable environment for humans. Not even close. Our bodies are designed for atmospheric pressure, for air-filled lungs, for structural integrity that depends on internal pressure balancing external pressure. Deep-sea creatures evolved differently. They have no air spaces, no swim bladders, no lungs, no sinuses. They are made of water, muscle, fat, and bone, all incompressible materials. The pressure pushes on them from all directions equally. It pushes on the outside of their body. It pushes on the inside of their cells. Equilibrium. They do not feel crushed because there is nothing to crush. The pressure inside their tissues equals the pressure outside. No differential, no stress, but pressure does affect biochemistry. At extreme pressures, proteins change shape. Cell membranes alter their properties. Enzymes stop working correctly. Deep sea fish have evolved specialized proteins that remain stable under pressure. Their cell membranes contain different types of fats, unsaturated fats that stay fluid even when compressed. Their enzymes have different structures that maintain activity under conditions that would denature surface proteins. This is molecular adaptation. Evolution working at the chemical level, changing the fundamental building blocks of life to function in an environment that should not support life. Some compounds that exist in deep-sea organisms have never been found anywhere else. They are pressure-adapted molecules, created by evolution to solve problems that do not exist at the surface. Scientists study these molecules because they might have applications in biotechnology, in medicine. Proteins that remain stable under extreme conditions could be useful in industrial processes, in drug manufacturing, in situations where normal proteins denature, but pressure also limits how deep life can go. There is a theoretical maximum, a depth where pressure becomes so extreme that even specialized proteins cannot function, where cell membranes fail, where biochemistry breaks down. We have not found that limit yet. We keep discovering life deeper than we thought possible. Each new expedition pushes the known limit further down. The deepest fish ever recorded was found at 27,000 feet, more than 5 miles down. Pressure at that depth exceeds 15,000 pounds per square inch. The fish was small, translucent, gelatinous. It looked barely solid enough to hold its own shape, but it was alive, functioning, surviving. Scientists are not sure how it does this. What molecular adaptations allow it to exist at pressures that should prevent cellular function? The research is ongoing. The answer is incomplete. What we know is that pressure creates a vertical limit on life. Surface organisms cannot survive in the deep. Deep organisms cannot survive at the surface. Bring a deep-sea fish to the surface rapidly, and it dies. Not from the pressure change alone, from the temperature change, from the light, from the sudden availability of oxygen that its system cannot handle. Evolution created specialists. Organisms perfectly adapted to specific pressure ranges. They cannot leave those ranges. They are locked into their depth zones as surely as we are locked to land. There are transition zones, depths where both shallow adapted and deep adapted species can survive. These zones have higher biodiversity, more competition, more predation. But the truly deep zones have fewer species, lower diversity, only the specialists that evolved molecular machinery capable of functioning under crushing pressure. And among those specialists, some have solved the pressure problem in ways that seem impossible. The Mariana snailfish holds the record, deepest fish ever recorded, 27,000 feet below the surface. In the Hadal zone of the Mariana Trench, at that depth, pressure exceeds 16,000 pounds per square inch. This should prevent life. It should denature proteins, collapse cell structures, stop biochemistry. But the snailfish survives, and scientists discovered why. Its cells produce trimethylamine N-oxide, TMAO for short. This is a small organic molecule that counteracts the effects of pressure on proteins. Pressure tries to compress proteins, changes their shape, makes them non-functional. TMAO prevents this. It stabilizes protein structure, keeps enzymes working even when crushed by thousands of pounds of force. The deeper a fish lives, the more TMAO it produces. Snailfish at 20,000 feet have TMAO concentrations that would be toxic to surface fish. Their tissues are saturated with it. About 5% of their body weight is TMAO. This molecule is not unique to snailfish. Many deep-sea fish produce it, but snailfish produce it at levels never seen before. They are pushing the biochemical limits of what is possible. TMAO also smells terrible. It breaks down into trimethylamine, the compound that gives rotting fish their characteristic odor. Deep-sea fish reek when brought to the surface. The TMAO degrades. The smell becomes overpowering. But down in the trench, this does not matter. There is no air, no one to smell them. The TMAO just does its job, protecting proteins, maintaining cellular function. Snailfish also have reduced bone density. Their skeletons are partly cartilage, partly decalcified bone. This makes them more flexible, lets them compress slightly without breaking. Their bodies are gelatinous, watery. They have low muscle density. This reduces their metabolic needs, lets them survive on minimal food. They feed on amphipods, small crustaceans that live in the trenches. These amphipods feed on organic matter that sinks to the bottom. The snailfish hunts the amphipods, a simple food chain in the deepest part of the ocean. The fish have no swim bladder. Swim bladders are air-filled. They would compress to nothing at these depths. Instead, snailfish control buoyancy through body composition. By adjusting water content, by modifying tissue density. Their eyes are small but functional. There is no sunlight at this depth, but bioluminescence exists even here. Amphipods glow. Other organisms glow. There is enough light for vision if your eyes are sensitive enough. Snailfish reproduce by laying eggs. Females deposit egg masses on the seafloor. Males fertilize them. The embryos develop slowly, very slowly. Low temperature and low metabolism mean development takes months. When the young hatch, they look like miniature adults. There is no larval stage, no migration to surface waters. They are born in the trench. They live in the trench. They die in the trench. They never leave. This is complete adaptation to the Hadal environment. Surface pressure would kill them just as surely as deep pressure would kill a surface fish. They are locked into their niche. Scientists caught snailfish using traps, baited cameras with rotting fish. The snailfish appeared within hours. They swarmed the bait, dozens of them, small white fish hovering over the camera. They are not rare, at least not in the trenches. They might be one of the most common fish at extreme depths, but we only discovered them recently because we only recently developed technology to explore these areas. The Mariana snailfish was formally described in 2019. Before that, we did not know it existed. There could be other species we have not found yet, living even deeper, adapted to even higher pressures. But there is a limit. Somewhere around 27,000 feet, the pressure becomes too great. TMAO cannot protect proteins anymore. Cell membranes fail. Life stops. We think the deepest possible fish live around 27,000 to 28,000 feet. Below that, only invertebrates survive. Amphipods, sea cucumbers, organisms with fundamentally different biochemistry. The snailfish represents the absolute edge of vertebrate survival. The deepest a fish with a backbone can exist. They are at the limit. One step beyond would be impossible. And they thrive there, in conditions humans can barely imagine, in darkness, in cold, under pressure that would crush our submarines. They evolved molecules that should not exist, proteins that function under conditions that should denature them, a body plan that works in an environment designed to kill. They are proof that evolution can solve any problem given enough time, that life finds a way even in the most hostile places. But some creatures in the deep are even older than the fish, predators that have barely changed in 80 million years. The frilled shark looks like it swam out of the Cretaceous period. It has not changed significantly in 80 million years. It is a living fossil, a direct link to the age of dinosaurs. Its body is long, eel-like, dark brown. It can grow to 6 feet in length. Most of that is body and tail. The head is relatively small, but the mouth is enormous. When opened, the jaw extends almost 90 degrees. The entire front of the head becomes a gaping cavity lined with teeth. 300 teeth, arranged in 25 rows. Each tooth has 3 points, sharp, backward-facing, designed to grip slippery prey. When the frilled shark catches something, those teeth interlock, create a cage. Nothing escapes. The more prey struggles, the deeper it slides into the shark's throat. The shark hunts in the deep ocean, around 2,000 to 4,000 feet. It targets squid and fish. It moves slowly through the water until it detects prey. Then it strikes. Not like a typical shark. The frilled shark does not have the powerful bite of a great white. It does not tear chunks of flesh. It swallows prey whole. It opens its jaws wide, lunges forward, engulfs the prey completely. The teeth guide the prey down into the throat. Swallowing happens in one smooth motion. The shark's body can expand to accommodate large meals. The stomach stretches. The skin between the ribs distends. A frilled shark can swallow prey half its own length. After eating, it might not feed again for weeks, maybe months. Its metabolism is slow, digestion takes time, energy conservation is critical in the deep ocean. Frilled sharks have 6 pairs of gill slits. Most modern sharks have 5. This is an ancient feature, one that most sharks lost through evolution. But the frilled shark kept it. The gill slits are frilly, hence the name. Each slit has elaborate tissue folds. This increases surface area for oxygen exchange, helps the shark extract oxygen from oxygen-poor deep water. Their liver is huge, takes up maybe a quarter of their body volume. It is filled with low-density oils. These oils provide buoyancy. The shark does not have a swim bladder. It uses liver oils instead. This is how deep-sea sharks control depth. By adjusting liver size and oil composition, it is slower than a swim bladder, but more reliable at extreme depths. Frilled sharks are ovoviviparous. Females carry eggs inside their body. The embryos develop internally. When ready, they are born as miniature sharks. The gestation period might be the longest of any vertebrate. Researchers estimate 3.5 years, maybe longer. The female carries developing embryos for years before giving birth. Litter size is small, 10 to 15 pups. Each pup is maybe 2 feet long at birth. They are independent immediately. No parental care. They swim away and begin hunting on their own. This reproductive strategy makes sense in the deep ocean. Food is scarce. Energy for reproduction is limited. Better to invest heavily in a few well-developed offspring than produce many weak ones. But it also makes frilled sharks vulnerable to overfishing. They reproduce slowly, take years to reach maturity. If population numbers drop, recovery takes decades. Frilled sharks are rarely seen. They live too deep for casual encounters. Occasionally one gets caught in fishing nets or washes up on a beach, usually sick or dying. These incidents are the main source of our knowledge. We study the carcasses, take measurements, examine stomach contents, try to understand how these ancient predators live. Their eyes are large, adapted for low light. They can probably see bioluminescence, track the glowing bodies of squid and fish in the darkness. Their lateral line system is well developed, sensitive to vibrations. They can detect prey movement from far away, follow the disturbance through the water until close enough to strike. Frilled sharks have been found with strange items in their stomachs, plastic debris, pieces of fishing gear. They are not selective eaters. They swallow anything that moves and fits in their mouth. This indiscriminate feeding might be an advantage in the deep ocean. When food is rare, you cannot afford to be picky. Anything organic is worth attempting to eat. But it also means they ingest things that cannot be digested. These items accumulate in the stomach, can cause blockages, can lead to starvation even with a full stomach. Human pollution has reached even the deepest parts of the ocean. Even predators that evolved 80 million years ago now contend with plastic and debris. The frilled shark survived mass extinctions, survived climate changes, survived continental drift and ocean reorganization. But it might not survive us. And frilled sharks are not even close to the largest deep-sea creatures. Some organisms down here grow to sizes that defy explanation. The giant isopod is a crustacean, related to pillbugs, the tiny bugs you find under rocks in your garden. But the giant isopod grows to 16 inches long. It weighs over 3 pounds. It is the size of a football. This is deep-sea gigantism, the phenomenon where deep ocean organisms grow much larger than their shallow water relatives. Scientists have proposed several explanations, none proven completely, but the pattern is clear. In the deep ocean, things get bigger. One theory involves temperature. Cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water. Cold-blooded organisms in well-oxygenated water can support larger body sizes. Their cells get enough oxygen even with slower circulation. Another theory focuses on food scarcity. In the deep ocean, meals are rare. A larger body can store more energy, can survive longer between feedings. Size becomes an advantage when starvation is the primary threat. Pressure might also play a role. Larger cells handle pressure better than smaller cells. There is less surface area relative to volume. This reduces the stress on cell membranes. Or it might be related to lifespan. Deep-sea organisms live longer. They grow slowly but continuously. Over decades or centuries, they accumulate size that shorter-lived species never reach. Whatever the cause, the examples are startling. Giant squid reach 40 feet in length. Their shallow water cousins max out at maybe 3 feet. Colossal squid are even larger, estimated at over 45 feet, with eyes the size of dinner plates, with tentacles bearing rotating hooks instead of suckers. Giant tube worms grow up to 8 feet long. Their relatives in shallower water are maybe a foot. Spider crabs in the deep ocean have leg spans over 12 feet. Surface crabs rarely exceed a few inches across. The pattern holds across species. Amphipods in shallow water are maybe an inch long. In the Hadal trenches, they grow to over a foot. Some specimens have been found at 14 inches. These giant amphipods are scavengers. They feed on whatever sinks to the bottom: dead whales, dead fish, organic matter. Researchers deployed cameras with bait. Within hours, the amphipods swarmed, hundreds of them, the size of lobsters, crawling over the bait, stripping it clean. They move fast, faster than expected. They are aggressive feeders. They have to be. Competition for food is fierce. When a carcass arrives, every scavenger in the area converges. Giant amphipods can go months without food, but when food appears, they gorge. They eat until they can barely move. They store fat reserves that sustain them until the next meal arrives. Sea spiders in the deep grow to over a foot in leg span. Their bodies are tiny, all legs and barely any torso. They look like walking sticks moving across the seafloor. They feed by piercing soft-bodied organisms with a proboscis, sucking out internal fluids, a feeding strategy that requires no teeth, no crushing force, just a tube and suction. Jellyfish in the deep grow massive. The lion's mane jellyfish has tentacles that can stretch over 100 feet. Its bell can be 6 feet across. It is one of the longest animals on Earth. These giants drift through the water column, tentacles trailing behind like a net. Anything that touches the tentacles gets stung, paralyzed, pulled up to the mouth and consumed. But not all deep-sea organisms are giants. Some remain small. The pattern is not universal. It depends on species, on evolutionary pressures, on ecological niche. The point is that the deep ocean allows for sizes that would not work in shallow water. Predation pressure is lower, metabolic rates are slower, lifespan is longer. Evolution experiments with scale. And in the deep ocean, those experiments produce creatures that seem impossible, creatures that should not exist based on what we know from surface biology. A 16-inch pillbug, a 40-foot squid, a jellyfish with 100-foot tentacles. These are not science fiction. They are real animals, living in our ocean, right now, and some of them have weapons that make their size even more terrifying. The colossal squid is heavier than the giant squid, shorter in total length but more massive, more muscular, built for power instead of reach, and its tentacles are covered in weapons that spin. Most squid have suckers, circular discs that create vacuum seal. They grip prey, hold it tight, but colossal squid evolved something different, something worse. Their tentacles have hooks, sharp, curved, made of chitin. Each hook is maybe an inch long, razor-edged, and they rotate. The hooks are mounted on swivels. They can turn 360 degrees. When the tentacle wraps around prey, the hooks dig in from every angle. They rotate, cut deeper, shred flesh. This is not a grip. This is an attack. The hooks do not just hold prey. They damage it, tear it apart, make escape impossible. Colossal squid hunt in the Southern Ocean, around Antarctica. At depths up to 7,000 feet, the water is near freezing, dark, filled with fish and smaller squid. They are ambush predators. They wait in the water column, motionless. When prey passes within range, the tentacles shoot out, faster than human eyes can track. The hooks embed, the rotation begins. Prey has no defense against this. The hooks cut through scales, through skin, into muscle. The more the prey struggles, the worse the damage becomes. Colossal squid also have hooks on their arms, 8 arms, 2 tentacles, all covered in rotating weapons. When they pull prey toward their beak, every surface that touches the prey is cutting it. The beak itself is massive, parrot-like, made of chitin harder than most metals. It can bite through bone, through steel cable, through anything organic. But the beak is not the primary weapon. The hooks are. They incapacitate prey before it reaches the beak. By the time the squid begins eating, the prey is already shredded. Researchers have examined scars on sperm whales, circular marks from sucker rings, and slash marks from hooks. The hook wounds are deeper, more severe. They take longer to heal. Some sperm whales carry hook scars across their entire head, evidence of battles with colossal squid. The whale won, obviously. But the squid did not go quietly. Colossal squid can weigh over 1,000 pounds. They have the largest eyes of any animal relative to body size, even larger than giant squid eyes, almost 12 inches across. These eyes are designed to see in near darkness, to detect bioluminescence, to spot sperm whales, hunting them from far away. The squid's mantle is thick, muscular, filled with ammonia-rich tissue that provides buoyancy. The ammonia makes the flesh toxic, inedible to most predators. Sperm whales do not care. They have evolved tolerance to ammonia. They can eat colossal squid without getting poisoned. They are one of the few predators capable of hunting these massive creatures. Colossal squid reproduction is mostly unknown. We have never observed them mating. We assume they spawn like other squid, release eggs into the water, let them develop on their own. But everything about colossal squid is assumption. We have only examined a few dozen specimens. Most were dead when found, floating at the surface, or caught in fishing nets. We have never seen a living colossal squid in its natural habitat, never watched it hunt, never observed its behavior. Everything we know comes from corpses and analysis. The rotating hooks were discovered by examining preserved tentacles under magnification. The swivel mechanism is intricate. Biological engineering at a microscopic level, evolution created a joint that allows full rotation without tearing tissue. Each hook has muscles attached. The squid can control the rotation, can make the hooks spin or lock in place, can adjust the angle of attack. This level of control requires a sophisticated nervous system. Colossal squid brains are large, complex. They process information from millions of nerve endings in their arms and tentacles. They are intelligent, probably more intelligent than we realize, but we have no way to measure it. No way to test cognition in an animal that lives so deep and dies so quickly when brought to the surface. What we know is that evolution gave them weapons unlike anything else in the ocean. Hooks that rotate, that cut from every angle, that make escape impossible. And these weapons exist on a creature that weighs half a ton, that moves through the darkness like a ghost, that can accelerate to incredible speeds using jet propulsion. Colossal squid are apex predators in the Southern Ocean depths. They have few natural enemies besides sperm whales. They are at the top of their food chain. But even apex predators have limits. Even they cannot survive everywhere. There are zones below where they hunt, zones where the pressure increases even more, where the environment becomes even more hostile. At 13,000 feet, you cross into the abyssal zone, the abyss. The word comes from Greek. It means bottomless, infinite depth. The name fits. Pressure here exceeds 6,000 pounds per square inch. Temperature is constant, 35 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Darkness is absolute. Not a photon of sunlight reaches this depth. The abyssal zone covers more than half of Earth's total surface area. It is the largest habitat on the planet, bigger than all the continents combined, bigger than all forests, all deserts, all shallow oceans, and we have explored less than 1% of it. The seafloor here is not flat, it is not smooth, it is rugged. Mountains rise thousands of feet, canyons cut thousands of feet deeper, ridges run for hundreds of miles, volcanic vents spew superheated water. Most of the floor is covered in sediment, fine mud made from the dissolved shells of dead organisms, particles that have been drifting down for millions of years. In some places, the sediment is thousands of feet thick. This sediment is the foundation of the abyssal ecosystem. Organisms burrow into it, feed on it, process it. They extract nutrients from particles that have been settling since before humans existed. The food web here depends entirely on what falls from above: marine snow, dead organisms, fecal matter, whale carcasses. Everything that sinks eventually reaches the abyssal seafloor. When a whale dies at the surface and sinks, it becomes an entire ecosystem, a whale fall. The carcass lands on the seafloor, and hundreds of species converge. First come the mobile scavengers: sharks, hagfish, crabs. They strip the soft tissue, the meat, the blubber. This phase lasts months. Then come the smaller scavengers: worms, snails. They pick the bones clean, extract nutrients from cartilage and bone marrow. This phase lasts years. Finally, bacteria colonize the skeleton. They break down the lipids stored in the bones. This phase lasts decades. The whale skeleton supports life for 50 years or more. For organisms adapted to starvation, a whale fall is a treasure, a concentration of nutrients that might sustain a community for generations. But whale falls are rare. Most of the abyssal zone receives only a thin drizzle of marine snow, a few grams of organic matter per square foot per year. Organisms here exist on almost nothing. Their energy budgets are smaller than any surface animal. They move slowly, grow slowly, reproduce rarely. Many abyssal fish are blind. Eyes cost energy to maintain, energy to power. If there is no light, eyes are useless. Evolution removes them. These fish navigate by touch, by chemical sensing, by detecting water movement through lateral lines. They build mental maps of their territory using sensors humans barely understand. Some abyssal organisms are transparent. Their bodies are see-through. You can watch their organs work, see their digestive system, see their blood pumping. Transparency offers no camouflage here. There is no light to hide from, but it might reduce the energy cost of producing pigments. Every saved calorie matters. The abyssal zone has distinct regions. Areas near underwater mountains have different species than flat plains. Areas near volcanic vents have entirely different ecosystems. Hydrothermal vents support life that does not depend on sunlight. Chemosynthetic bacteria use chemicals from the vents as energy. They form the base of a food chain that includes tube worms, clams, and specialized fish. These vent communities exist in islands of warmth surrounded by freezing abyssal water. The temperature gradient creates boundaries. Species adapted to vent heat cannot survive in the surrounding cold. Species from the cold water cannot survive the vent heat. The abyss is not uniform. It is a patchwork of microhabitats, each with its own conditions, its own species, its own rules. Currents flow across the abyssal plains. Slow currents. They move at inches per hour, but over years, they transport nutrients across thousands of miles. They connect distant ecosystems, carry larvae from one region to another. Some abyssal organisms spend their entire lives moving with these currents, drifting, never touching the seafloor, living in the water column above the abyss. Others are sessile, attached to the bottom, waiting for food to drift past. They might wait months, years. They have evolved patience beyond comprehension. The abyssal zone also contains most of Earth's undiscovered species. Every expedition that sends cameras or nets to these depths finds new organisms, species never before documented. Estimates suggest we have identified less than 10% of abyssal species. The rest are unknown, unobserved, living in darkness that humans have never penetrated. And below the abyss, there is something even deeper, even more extreme. The Dumbo octopus floats above the abyssal seafloor. Its ear-like fins flap slowly, gracefully. It looks like it is flying through water. The fins are the reason for the name. They resemble the ears of Disney's Dumbo the elephant. They extend from the side of the head, flap in rhythmic pulses, provide propulsion and stability. Most octopuses crawl. They use their arms to pull themselves across the seafloor. They hide in crevices, in caves. They are bottom dwellers. Dumbo octopuses abandon that lifestyle. They evolved to swim, to hover, to live in the water column far above the bottom. They are the deepest living octopuses on Earth, found at depths exceeding 23,000 feet, in the Hadal zone, in trenches, in places where pressure should prevent complex life. Their bodies are soft, gelatinous, almost translucent. They have minimal muscle density. This reduces their weight, lets them float without constant effort. The fins provide fine control. The octopus can hover in place, can drift with currents, can accelerate when needed using jet propulsion from its siphon. They feed on small invertebrates, copepods, amphipods, worms. They drift through the water until prey comes within range. Then the arms extend, grab, pull the prey to the mouth. The arms are webbed, connected by tissue that forms a bell shape when spread. The octopus can use this webbing like a net. It descends over prey, traps it. Then the arms bring it inward to the beak. Dumbo octopuses have relatively large eyes, not as large as giant squid eyes, but substantial for an octopus. They can detect bioluminescence, track glowing organisms in the darkness. They also have photophores, light-producing organs scattered across their body. They can glow, flash patterns, communicate with other Dumbo octopuses. We think they use bioluminescence for mating displays. Males might flash specific patterns to attract females, but we have never observed this. Never documented Dumbo octopus courtship. Females lay eggs on the seafloor. They attach them to rocks or coral skeletons. Large eggs, well provisioned. The embryos develop slowly over months. When they hatch, the young octopuses are miniature adults. They swim immediately, begin hunting on their own. No parental care, no protection. Dumbo octopuses come in various colors. Some are pale, almost white. Others are pink, red, orange. The color might indicate species, or it might be individual variation. We do not know. Different species have been identified based on fin shape, arm length, body proportions. There might be 18 species of Dumbo octopus, maybe more. Classification is ongoing. They are rarely seen. Living at extreme depths makes observation difficult. Most of what we know comes from specimens caught in deep-sea trawls or footage from remotely operated vehicles. The footage shows them moving with eerie grace, fins flapping, arms trailing. They look peaceful, serene, like creatures from another world. But they are effective predators. Their feeding strategy is patient. They drift through huge volumes of water. Eventually, they encounter prey. The arms shoot out. The capture happens in seconds. Dumbo octopuses have relatively simple brains compared to shallow water octopuses. They are not tool users. They do not solve complex puzzles. They do not change color for camouflage. Their intelligence is focused on navigation, on hunting, on surviving in an environment with minimal sensory input. They can sense vibrations through their arms, detect chemicals dissolved in water, build awareness of their surroundings despite the darkness. Some Dumbo octopuses have been found with parasites, nematodes living in their digestive system, crustaceans attached to their skin. Even in the deepest ocean, nothing lives alone. Everything hosts something else. The lifespan of Dumbo octopuses is unknown. We have never tracked one long enough to measure it. They might live 3 years, maybe 5, possibly longer. Their slow metabolism suggests longer lifespans. But without data, we can only guess. What we know is that they represent a unique evolutionary path. Octopuses that left the seafloor, that evolved to swim instead of crawl, that adapted to the deepest parts of the ocean. They are proof that octopus body plans are flexible, that evolution can reshape familiar forms into something entirely new, and they share their habitat with creatures even stranger. Fish that stand on the bottom instead of swimming. The tripod fish does not swim, it stands on the abyssal seafloor, motionless, sometimes for days. 3 fins extend from its body like legs, 2 pectoral fins, 1 elongated tail fin. Each fin is stiffened with rigid rays. Each one acts as a support column. The fish positions itself facing into the current. The fins plant in the sediment. The body lifts several inches above the bottom. The fish becomes a tripod. This stance serves a purpose. Lifting above the seafloor puts the fish in the current. Faster water flows above the sediment. This water carries more food, more organic particles, more prey. The fish holds its pectoral fins forward, extended like antennae. These fins are covered in sensory cells. They detect vibration, chemical traces, anything moving in the current. When prey drifts past, the fish senses it, turns its head, opens its mouth. The prey gets sucked in. The fish returns to its waiting position. No chase, no pursuit, just patience and precision. Tripod fish can hold this position for days, possibly weeks. They have been filmed by underwater cameras staying absolutely still for hours. The only movement is their gills opening and closing, breathing. This strategy requires almost no energy. The fins lock into position. The muscles barely work. The fish becomes a living statue. Food in the abyss is scarce. Energy must be conserved. Moving wastes calories. Hunting actively wastes calories. Standing still and waiting is the most efficient strategy. Different tripod fish species have different fin lengths. Some stand 6 inches tall, others over a foot. The height depends on where they live, on the characteristics of the local current. In areas with strong currents, shorter fins work better. Less leverage for the water to push against, more stability. In areas with weak currents, longer fins lift the fish higher, get it into faster moving water above the boundary layer. Tripod fish are hermaphrodites. They have both male and female reproductive organs. This solves a major problem in the abyss. Finding a mate is nearly impossible. The ocean is vast. Population density is low. 2 fish might drift for their entire lives without encountering each other. But if you are both male and female, you do not need another fish. You can fertilize your own eggs. Self-fertilization is not ideal genetically. It reduces genetic diversity, but it is better than never reproducing at all. When conditions are favorable, tripod fish release both eggs and sperm into the water. Some eggs get fertilized by their own sperm. Some might get fertilized by sperm from other tripod fish, if any are nearby. The fertilized eggs drift with currents. The larvae develop in the water column. They feed on microscopic organisms. Eventually, they settle to the seafloor, transform into adults, begin their own waiting vigil. Tripod fish have extremely sensitive lateral lines. These detect pressure changes in the water, vibrations, movement. A shrimp kicking its tail 20 feet away creates ripples. The tripod fish detects them, knows something is there, knows the approximate direction and distance. If the shrimp drifts closer, the fish prepares, angles its mouth, waits for the perfect moment. strikes. The strike is not fast like a surface predator. It is deliberate, controlled. The mouth opens, creates negative pressure. Water rushes in. The prey comes with it. Tripod fish eyes are small, reduced. Vision is not critical at these depths. Chemoreception and mechanoreception are more important. Some tripod fish species are completely blind. Their eyes have degenerated to non-functional remnants. They navigate entirely through other senses. Their skin is dark, black or dark brown. This might reduce bioluminescent detection by predators. A dark fish against a dark background is harder to see even with bioluminescence. Tripod fish are found in all major oceans. Wherever there is abyssal plain, they are one of the most successful deep-sea fish families. But successful does not mean common. Their population density is still low. You might survey a square mile of abyssal seafloor and find 3 tripod fish, maybe 5. They are specialists, adapted to a specific niche. That niche is vast. It covers millions of square miles. But within that vastness, each fish occupies a tiny territory, standing, waiting, surviving on patience and efficiency. And they are not alone down there. Another fish dominates the abyssal zone even more completely. Grenadier fish are everywhere in the abyss. They might be the most abundant fish on Earth by biomass. More grenadiers exist than all salmon, all tuna, all cod, but most people have never heard of them. They have large heads, tapered bodies that end in a thin tail. No tail fin, just a pointed tip. They look like tadpoles that grew teeth and eyes. Their bodies are covered in scales, but these are not normal scales. They have sharp ridges, spines. Touch a grenadier, and you might get cut. The scales create sound. When grenadiers swim, the scales rub together, produce clicks and rattles. They use this sound to communicate, to locate each other in darkness. Each species has a different acoustic signature, different rhythm, different frequency. They can identify their own kind by sound alone. Grenadiers cruise along the seafloor, swimming slowly, searching for food. They eat anything organic: worms, shrimp, small fish, carrion, marine snow. They are opportunistic, not specialized. This flexibility is why they are so successful. When food is scarce, you cannot afford to be picky. Their mouths face downward, designed for bottom feeding. They root through sediment like pigs rooting through soil, sucking up whatever they find. Some species have barbels, whisker-like organs hanging from the chin. These are chemoreceptors. They detect dissolved chemicals, help the fish locate buried prey. Grenadiers have large eyes, bigger than you would expect for their body size. These eyes are adapted for detecting bioluminescence. They can see the faintest glow, but in total darkness, even excellent eyes have limits. So grenadiers also rely heavily on their lateral line system, on sound, on chemical sensing. They swim in loose aggregations, not schools exactly, but they stay within sensory range of each other. They communicate with scale sounds, with chemical signals. When one grenadier finds food, others nearby sense it. They converge, feed together. This increases individual feeding success. But it also creates competition, aggression. Grenadiers fight over carcasses, over concentrations of prey. They bite, ram each other, drive competitors away. Despite the abundance of grenadiers, predation on them is rare. Few predators exist at abyssal depths, and grenadiers are not easy prey. They are fast when threatened. Their spiny scales make them difficult to swallow. Most grenadier mortality comes from starvation, from old age, from disease, not from predation. Some grenadier species migrate vertically. They rise toward the surface at night to feed, descend to the abyss during the day. This behavior is common in younger grenadiers. Adults tend to stay deep. Reproduction varies by species. Some release eggs into the water column. The eggs drift and develop in the open ocean. Others lay eggs on the seafloor. Females produce thousands of eggs, tens of thousands. Fertilization is external. Males and females release gametes into the water simultaneously. Success rate is low. Most eggs never get fertilized. Most larvae never survive to adulthood, but the sheer number of eggs compensates. Grenadiers grow slowly, take years to reach maturity, but once mature, they can reproduce multiple times. Some species might spawn every year for decades. Their flesh is watery, low in muscle protein, high in water content. This is typical of abyssal fish. It reduces density, provides neutral buoyancy, but it also makes them poor food for humans. Grenadier flesh falls apart when cooked, turns mushy, has a bland taste. They are sometimes caught as bycatch in deep-sea trawls targeting other species. The grenadiers get discarded. They have no commercial value. This might be fortunate. If grenadiers were commercially valuable, they would be overfished. Their slow growth and late maturity make them vulnerable to population collapse. As it is, they remain abundant. The dominant fish of the abyss, swimming through the darkness in numbers we can barely comprehend. Every deep-sea camera deployment captures grenadiers. Every net pulled from abyssal depths contains them. They are the background noise of the deep ocean. And among the creatures they encounter on the seafloor are some of the largest invertebrates ever recorded. Amphipods are crustaceans, related to shrimp. In shallow water, they grow to maybe an inch long. Beach hoppers, small scavengers that burrow in sand. In the Hadal trenches, they grow to 14 inches, the size of a dinner plate, with bodies thick and armored, legs like metal rods. This is the most extreme example of deep-sea gigantism, an organism that increases in size by more than 10 times its shallow water relatives. Scientists are not completely sure why. The theories for deep-sea gigantism all apply. Cold water, high oxygen, long lifespan, low predation. But amphipods take it further than anything else. They are not just big, they are enormous. These giant amphipods are scavengers, opportunistic feeders. They eat anything organic that reaches the seafloor. Dead fish, dead whales, wood, plant matter washed from land. When food arrives, they swarm, hundreds of them, covering the carcass like a living blanket. They eat aggressively, tearing off chunks of flesh, competing with each other. A dead fish dropped to the Hadal zone gets stripped to bones within hours. The amphipods are that efficient, that numerous. They have powerful mandibles, strong enough to crunch through bone. They process everything: scales, cartilage, organs. Nothing gets wasted. Between feeding events, they might wait months, maybe years. Their metabolism slows to near nothing. They drift through the water or crawl across the seafloor, conserving energy. Their exoskeleton is thick, reinforced. This provides protection from pressure, from predators, from the impacts of moving across sharp rocks. They have large eyes, compound eyes like insects. These eyes can detect bioluminescence, track glowing organisms, see in near total darkness. Their antennae are long, covered in chemoreceptors. They can smell food from miles away, detect the chemical signature of decomposition, follow it to the source. When researchers deploy baited cameras in trenches, amphipods appear within hours, sometimes minutes. They sense the bait, converge from all directions. The footage shows them crawling over each other, fighting for position. The largest amphipods dominate. They get the best feeding spots. The smaller ones wait for scraps. Some species of giant amphipods are predatory. They hunt smaller organisms, worms, other crustaceans, small fish. They ambush from the sediment, bury themselves, wait for prey to pass overhead. then lunge, grab with their legs, pull prey down into the mud. Their legs are lined with spines. These grip slippery prey, prevent escape. Once caught, the prey gets pulled to the mandibles, gets torn apart. Giant amphipods can survive extreme pressure, over 16,000 pounds per square inch in the deepest trenches. They contain the same pressure-resistant proteins as snailfish, TMAO in high concentrations. They also have flexible joints. Their exoskeleton can compress slightly under pressure. This prevents cracking, prevents structural failure. Reproduction in giant amphipods is poorly understood. We assume they mate like shallow water amphipods. The male transfers sperm to the female. She carries fertilized eggs in a brood pouch. The eggs develop over weeks or months. When ready, the juveniles are released. They look like miniature adults. They begin feeding immediately. Growth takes years, maybe decades. A 14-inch amphipod might be 30 years old, maybe older. Their lifespan is unknown. No one has tracked a giant amphipod long enough to measure it. They might live 50 years, possibly longer. What is known is that they are incredibly tough, resilient. They can survive conditions that would kill most other organisms. Experiments have brought giant amphipods to the surface. They survive for hours in aquarium tanks. They adjust to the pressure change, the temperature change, but they always die eventually. They are too specialized for trench life. Surface conditions are too different, too warm, too bright, too much oxygen. Giant amphipods represent an evolutionary endpoint, an organism that has adapted so completely to the Hadal environment that it cannot exist anywhere else. They are locked into the trenches, into the deepest places on Earth, and those places are about to get even more extreme. At 20,000 feet, you enter the Hadal zone, named after Hades, the Greek underworld, the realm of the dead. This is where ocean trenches begin, places where one tectonic plate slides beneath another, where the seafloor tears open, where Earth's crust bends downward into canyons deeper than mountains are tall. The Hadal zone is not continuous. It exists only in trenches, isolated pockets scattered across the ocean. The Mariana Trench, the Tonga Trench, the Kermadec Trench, the Philippine Trench. Each trench is an isolated ecosystem. Species evolve independently. What lives in one trench might not exist in another. Geographic isolation on a scale usually seen on islands. Pressure in the Hadal zone exceeds 15,000 pounds per square inch. This is the weight of a passenger jet pressing on every square inch of your body. Submarines cannot reach these depths. The hulls would implode. Only specialized vehicles with ceramic pressure spheres can descend this far, and only a handful exist. Humans have visited the Hadal zone fewer than 20 times. Total, in all of history, we have sent more people into space than into the deepest ocean. The temperature is just above freezing, stable, unchanging, has been the same for millions of years. The darkness is absolute. No bioluminescence from the water column above reaches this deep. The only light comes from organisms that live in the trenches themselves. Food is extremely scarce. Most organic matter gets consumed in the zones above. What reaches the Hadal zone is the final scraps. Particles so small they are barely nutritious, except for whale falls and wood falls. Large objects that sink fast enough to bypass the upper scavengers. When these land in a trench, they create oases, concentrations of life that persist for decades. The sediment in trenches is unique. It contains particles from the continents, washed into the ocean by rivers, carried by currents, settling slowly over thousands of miles. Some trenches contain sediment over a mile thick, layer upon layer of particles compacted under pressure. This sediment records geological history, climate changes, ocean chemistry shifts. Organisms that burrow into this sediment are processing the history of Earth, consuming the past, turning it into energy. The walls of trenches are steep, sometimes vertical. Organisms can cling to these walls, hide in crevices. Different species live on the walls than on the floor. This creates vertical zonation, layers of life stacked on top of each other, each adapted to specific conditions, specific pressure ranges, specific food sources. Trenches also experience earthquakes. The tectonic plates grinding against each other create tremors, landslides, sudden shifts in the seafloor. Organisms here must tolerate not just pressure and cold and darkness, they must tolerate geological instability. The ground literally moves beneath them. Some trenches have hydrothermal vents, cracks where superheated water escapes from beneath the crust. These vents support chemosynthetic ecosystems, life that does not depend on the sun. But most of the Hadal zone is cold, still, quiet, a world of sediment and darkness and crushing pressure. The species that live here are specialists. Snailfish adapted to pressure, amphipods adapted to scavenging, sea cucumbers adapted to sediment processing. Nothing from the surface can survive here. Nothing from the abyssal zone can survive here. The Hadal zone is its own world. And the deepest parts of that world are barely explored. We have sent cameras to a few trenches, collected samples from a few locations, but most of the Hadal zone remains unvisited. There could be species down there we cannot imagine, adaptations we have never seen, ecosystems operating on principles we do not understand. The Hadal zone represents the final frontier of ocean exploration, the last unknown territory on Earth, and we are only beginning to discover what lives in it. The Mariana snailfish was discovered in 2014, found at depths exceeding 26,000 feet, in the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth. It should not exist. The pressure should prevent cellular function, should denature proteins, should make life impossible. But the snailfish swims, hunts, reproduces. It has solved every problem the Hadal zone presents. Its body is pale, almost translucent. You can see internal structures through the skin. The skull is partially visible. The vertebrae show through the flesh. This is not because the fish is unhealthy. This is adaptation. Reduced pigmentation saves energy. There is no light to hide from, no predators that hunt by sight. The snailfish has a large head, small eyes, a mouth that extends almost to the gill openings. When it feeds, the mouth becomes a funnel. It sucks in amphipods whole. Its body is gelatinous, watery, almost no muscle density. This reduces metabolic needs, lets it survive on minimal food. The bones are soft, cartilaginous, lightly calcified. This gives flexibility, prevents fractures under pressure. Its stomach can expand dramatically. The fish can swallow prey nearly as large as itself. The stomach distends, the skin stretches. Digestion takes days or weeks. Between meals, the fish might go months without eating. Its metabolism is so slow that a single amphipod provides energy for weeks. The snailfish uses TMAO to protect its proteins, concentrations higher than any other fish. This molecule stabilizes protein structure, prevents pressure from destroying enzymatic function. But TMAO has limits. Above certain concentrations, it becomes toxic, disrupts cellular processes. The Mariana snailfish is pushing that limit, operating at the maximum TMAO concentration biology can tolerate. This suggests a depth limit for fish, somewhere around 27,000 to 28,000 feet. Below that, even TMAO cannot protect proteins. Fish cannot exist. The Mariana snailfish is at the edge of that limit. It represents the deepest possible fish, the absolute maximum depth for vertebrate life. Scientists have deployed cameras deeper than 27,000 feet. They have not found fish. They found amphipods, sea cucumbers, invertebrates with fundamentally different biochemistry, but no fish. The snailfish is the end of the line. It reproduces like other snailfish. Females lay eggs on the seafloor. Males fertilize them. Development is slow. Months pass before the young hatch. When they do, they are miniature adults, fully formed, ready to hunt. They feed on smaller amphipods, gradually work up to larger prey as they grow. Growth takes years, maybe decades. A full-sized Mariana snailfish might be 20 or 30 years old. We do not know for certain. Their predators are unclear. The Hadal zone has few large predators. Maybe larger snailfish eat smaller ones. Maybe amphipods scavenge dead or dying fish. But active predation seems rare. Most mortality probably comes from starvation, from unsuccessful hunts, from the simple difficulty of surviving in the most extreme environment on Earth. The Mariana snailfish was not discovered by accident. Scientists specifically targeted the Mariana Trench. They deployed landers, baited cameras. They recorded hours of footage. The snailfish appeared in multiple videos, swimming near the bait, feeding on amphipods attracted to the bait, apparently common in its habitat. This was shocking. The deepest fish on Earth is not rare, not a lone survivor. It has a population, a breeding community. Other trenches might have their own snailfish species. The Kermadec Trench has snailfish at 24,000 feet, different species, adapted to local conditions. Each trench's snailfish evolved independently. They are convergent evolution, different lineages solving the same problems with similar solutions. All have gelatinous bodies, all have high TMAO, all have reduced skeletons, all occupy the same ecological niche. This suggests that the snailfish body plan is optimal for Hadal fish. Evolution discovered the same solution multiple times in different locations. The Mariana snailfish might be the most extreme fish on Earth, the one operating closest to absolute limits. But it is not struggling, it is thriving. In the deepest, darkest, most hostile environment our planet offers, this fish found a way. It exists where nothing should, it hunts where submarines implode, and it shares that environment with creatures even more alien. In the deepest part of the Mariana Trench, pressure reaches 16,000 pounds per square inch. That is 8 tons. Pressing on every square inch, this is equivalent to 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of you, or 1,600 bowling balls. The numbers are almost meaningless. The human mind cannot grasp this kind of force. Steel crushes at this pressure, concrete shatters, wood compresses into fragments. Most materials fail catastrophically, but amphipods crawl across the seafloor. Sea cucumbers filter sediment. Worms burrow through the mud. Life continues as if the pressure does not exist. Because to these organisms, it does not. They are made of materials that do not compress. Water, proteins, fats, no air spaces, no cavities. The pressure pushes equally from all directions. Inside and outside reach equilibrium. There is no crushing force, no differential, but biochemistry still faces challenges. Pressure affects how molecules interact, how proteins fold, how membranes function. Hadal organisms evolved specialized molecules, pressure-resistant proteins, membranes with unique lipid compositions, enzymes that work under compression. Some of these molecules are found nowhere else on Earth. They exist only in trench organisms, created by evolution to solve problems that only exist at extreme depth. Scientists study these molecules for potential applications. Proteins that remain stable under pressure could be useful in industry, in medicine, in biotechnology. But extracting them is difficult. Bringing Hadal organisms to the surface kills them. The pressure drop causes cellular damage. Proteins denature. Membranes rupture. Some research vessels have pressure-maintaining chambers. They can keep captured organisms at trench pressure during the ascent. This keeps them alive long enough for study. But most specimens die before reaching the surface. They are preserved immediately, frozen or chemically fixed, then analyzed in labs. The Mariana Trench is not the only Hadal zone, but it is the deepest. The Tonga Trench comes close, 35,000 feet in some areas, almost as deep. Each trench has unique species. Geographic isolation created separate evolution. The Mariana Trench amphipods are different from Tonga Trench amphipods, different from Kermadec Trench amphipods. This pattern mirrors island biogeography. Each trench is an island of extreme depth surrounded by shallower ocean. Species evolve in isolation, diverge from common ancestors. Some Hadal species might exist in multiple trenches. Larvae could potentially drift between trenches via deep currents, but genetic studies suggest this is rare. Most trench populations are isolated, breeding only with others in the same trench. This isolation increases speciation, creates biodiversity hotspots in the deepest parts of the ocean. The sediment at the bottom of the Mariana Trench contains pollution, plastic particles, industrial chemicals, PCBs, mercury. Human waste has reached the deepest point on Earth. Particles settle through the water column, take decades to reach the bottom, but eventually they arrive. Hadal organisms ingest these particles. They accumulate in tissues, in fat deposits. The effects are unknown. We have not studied it enough. But the presence of pollution, even here, is sobering. No part of Earth is untouched. No environment too remote to be affected by human activity. The Mariana Trench also contains unique geological features: mud volcanoes, serpentinite formations. These create habitat complexity. Different substrate types support different organisms. Some areas have exposed rock, others have thick sediment. The habitat type determines what can live there, and beneath the sediment, there is life, microbes living in the rock itself, bacteria that survive on chemical energy, that have never seen organic matter from the surface. These subsurface organisms might outnumber all the organisms in the water column above. They process rock, extract energy from mineral reactions, form an entirely separate biosphere beneath the seafloor. The Mariana Trench is layered: surface water, deep water, sediment, subsurface rock. Each layer contains life. Each operates on different energy sources, different timescales. Understanding it requires exploration, sampling, observation, and we have barely started.